Hello everyone, welcome to this next session, looping construct. In the previous session we discussed conditional construct if, elif and else. Now we look at looping construct. Let us start. Looping means iteration. In other words, it is called iteration. It means a set of statements to be repeated for number of times as well as for unknown number of times. Python provides two kinds of loops, for and while loop. First we look at for loop. Unlike other languages, for loops works in a different way in Python. So it works for a sequence and it works for number of times. So let us see first for a sequence. So for loop is used for iterating over a sequence. Okay, sequence means in Python list, string, tuple, dictionary and set. For example, I am taking a list, say for x in the square bracket, it is a list 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, then a colon sign. This is the syntax again, if and elif. Colon is required after condition. Here colon is required in every for loop statement. Then under the for loop, the statement to be executed to be indented 4 spaces, like print x. So what this loop is doing is it is printing the sequence 10, 12, 14, 16. We can see this on the editor. We'll open the editor side by side. So let us open. So say for x in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let us type a sequence. Then colon is required. When we press enter, it will automatically indent the space, 4 spaces. Say print x. Okay, then enter, it will print the sequence. It means for loop is working for this sequence. Whatever the sequence we have provided, it is in the form of a list. Let us in the form of again a list. Let us take one more example. X for a in again a sequence apple, banana, orange, square bracket, colon sign, print a. Again you will see this is printing the sequence. Okay, working for the sequence. So next, so I hope it is clear. It may be list, it may be string, it may be tuple, it may be dictionary. Okay, it works for loop will works for this. Then range function. So whenever we have to work for fixed number of times, like while loop, okay, so we can use here range function to loop through a set of codes as a specified number of times. We can use range function. Range function returns a sequence of number. Basically range function generates a sequence of number. We have to give the start from by default it is 0 and increment by default it is by 1 and end at a specified number less than say n minus 1. Okay, so let's see the syntax over here. For x in range 9, print x. Okay, I'll show it on the editor again. start again. Okay, this is a data. Say for x in range 10, print x. Okay, now see, for x in range 10, what does this range function is doing? It means I have given this 10 as the range function will generate a sequence starting from 0. By default the starting value is 0. I have not given the starting point. This 10 is the last value, but range function will not include also the last value. It means range function will generate the sequence from 0 to 9. So let us check it. Okay, this is true. Then next example, for x in range 2 to 10, print x. Okay, what this statement is doing? For x in range function means I have given the starting value here, so it will not taken by default, it is taken as 2. Starting value is 2, end value is 9, and a step of increment is by default 1. As in the first example, it is a step of it is also a step of increment of by default 1. Here it is also step of increment of by default 1. It means it will print 2 to 9. Okay, true. Now again, for x in range 2, 9, 2, 10, 2. Here I have given the third argument. Now see the variation. For x in range 2, starting value is 2, ending value is 9, and with a gap of 2. So what is the result? 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. This is how this range function is working. Okay. Now one more example here. If you want to generate the reverse code for x in range 10, 1, -1. So here it is generating the number 10 to, not including 1, it means before 1 the value is 2, so 10 to 2. Okay, this is how to print the number in the reverse order. So for loops, I'm again repeating, for loop works for a sequence, iterating over a sequence, used for iterating over a sequence, and for loop works for specified number of times using range function. Okay. So next, while loop. It is a conditional loop. In while loop we have to provide a condition, which means works for the true condition. We have to give the boolean condition, boolean relation, so it will give us a true and a false value. So syntax is while condition and body of the loop after indenting. So here the example is c equal to 1 while c is less than 9. So again it is printing the 9 numbers. Let's see on the editor. For c equal to 1 while c less than 10, print c comma and equal to space. Okay, then c equal to c plus 1, so see the result, printing 1 to 9 numbers. So here like for loop, it is starting value, but in for loop, if we don't provide any starting value, it will be taken by default 1, and if we don't give the step of increment, it is by default 1. But in while loop, we have to give the starting value as well as we have to give the increment. So this is c equal to 1 is the starting value, c less than 10 is the conditional test. It means this is the termination point of the loop, and c equal to c plus 1 is a step of increment, or in between we have to do the task, whatever the task we have to repeat within the while loop. Okay, this is how while loop is working. So move on to the next slide. Now use of break, continue and pass statement in a for loop. Now break statement is used to break out of the loop. It means if we want to come out of the loop at a certain point, okay, then we have to use the break statement. And if we want to skip a particular step of iteration, we use continue statement. And if we want to satisfy the loop, that is syntactic filler, means just to make it satisfy the loop, we have to use the pass statement. Okay. Or you can say we want to neglect it. Okay. We want to use the pass statement. So first we will take an example of break statement. So here this loop is generating a number from 0 to 19. So if I equal to 10, break means when we reach at number 10, loop will break. So what happen? It will print that is the numbers. So let's see the output. For I in range 20, okay, for I in range 20, if I equal to 10, then we say break. Okay, print I end equal to space okay, this is printing a number up to 9. Okay, I hope it is clear to everyone. Printing the number from 0 to 9, because when we reach as 10 it will break, so it will print up to 9 only. Okay, I hope it is clear. Then next one more example, but I think it is sufficient. Next we will move on to the next point, that is continue statement. Continue means we want to skip the step. So here again the same loop. Say continue, okay. So let's see. So here you will see the output. After 9, 10 is missing. It means the value of 10 will be skipped. Okay, and you will getting the output 0 to 9, then 11 to 19, and so on. This is the continuous statement, use of continuous statement. Okay, then pass statement. Pass means at a certain point during the loop you want to do nothing. Okay, let's see. For I in range 5, if I percent 2 equal to 0, pass, else print I comma is odd, is odd, 3 is odd, but when we reach as 2, it does nothing. It means when it is divisible by 2, it does nothing. It means it just pass the statement. Okay, this is just to make the compiler happy. Pass means does nothing, just help the compiler make it happy. Okay, syntactically happy. Next, loop else statement. So this is also again the feature of the Python programming. With for loop we can use else part. Okay, else means it's an optional statement, it's not compulsory statement. So the else class of the Python execute when loop terminate normally, means when loop completes its job, so it will then execute the else part. So for example, for I in range 2 to 30, print I, it will print the number 2 to 30 with a gap of 2. When it reaches at 28, when it terminates, it will print loop terminate after printing all the sequence. You can check it. So let's see. For I in range 2, 30, 2, print I, end equal to space. Okay, then backspace. Okay, this is backspace. Else print loop terminates after successfully printing. Okay, so loop terminate after successfully print. This is result here. This is the use of else you can use. Similarly, you can use with the while loop. So last topic is nested loop. Means loop may contain other loop in its body, is called nested. It means loop within loop. So inner loop will finish, must terminate before the loop, outer loop finished. Okay, so here is an example. I want to generate this pattern. So this is for I in range 1 to 5, for j in range 1 comma I plus 1. It means j loop is dependent on the outer loop. Okay. So j loop will execute and terminate as much outer loop will execute. Okay. Let us see the example. For I in range 1 comma 5, for j in range I comma 1 comma I plus 1, print I comma, say I want to print star here, print star comma space print. So we'll see that showing the wrong output. Okay, what is missing is, so I will just copy this. Something goes wrong. say this is here and equal to space. Okay, no, the result is true. So what was the mistake is, I have given the space only and equal to space. On here print and equal to space means print the star in the same line, then when j loop finished it will print. Print means by default print statement print in the different line. So here it is print nothing means it leaves the line, one line, it will move on to the next line. Okay, then again the loop will do the same job, print the star for number of time and so on. Okay, this will make the pattern. So here j loop will execute 4 times. Okay, execute and finished 4 times because outer loop goes from 1 to 4 and j loop will execute 1 to the value of outer loop. It means it depended on the outer loop, and j loop will finished and execute as much time the outer loop will execute. This is the nested concept. So summaries we have discussed here: looping construct, for loop design with sequence and range, while loop design, use of break, continue and pass statement, use of else statement and nested loop, and so on. And thank you so much.